The Sins of Sinister event just unleashed a crap ton of Nightcrawler hybrids, and it's pretty crazy. What's up, my comic comrades? Marvel's Sins of Sinister event has been rolling on with Storm and the Brotherhood issue 1, Nightcrawlers issue 1, and Immoral X-Men issue 1. The story kicked off with Mr. Sinister using the Mutants' Resurrection Chamber to transform nearly everyone in the Marvel Universe into a genetically modified Sinister army that he alone controls. It's pretty twisted. If you guys want a fun recap of what the series is about, we broke down the first issue of Sins of Sinister in this video right here. Also, if you dig this video, please hit the like and share buttons because it helps a ton with the YouTube gods. And if you're not already a subscriber, we'd love to have you as a member of the crew, so give that subscribe button a little tickle. But let's pick things up where Sins of Sinister left off, with Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants 1. The first few pages have Storm recapping how she survived the attack from Sinister and his clones, and we see she's telling someone that now her people are scattered to the winds and space. They were hiding in the asteroids that were once tied to the fields of Morocco. Perhaps if we'd gone against your con advice, if we struck earlier, we'd have a chance, but you told us to wait. Look at me, Irene. Look me in the eye. How do you think I feel about that? As we see her confronting Destiny, the mutant who can see the future. Destiny then replies, "Clearly you haven't forgiven me, Storm, but you won't kill me either. At least not today. That I know." Storm answers, "This is not the place to stress the infallibility of your predictions, Destiny." Long story short, we find out this is not Destiny, but in fact Mystique in disguise. Storm then asks, "Why are you here?" Mystique answers, "To protect my wife, obviously. She predicted she'd be safe, but some things you don't gamble with. So I came here wearing her face to deliver her message. How would you like Morocco to live again?" Nathaniel Essex has a secret cloning facility dedicated to a secret clone, a clone of Moira McTaggart. It has her activated mutant gene, the power to reset the timeline to the first moment of her life, should that life end. The clone's life began almost 10 years ago. It was a save point of some kind that will save us from Sinister. Destroy the facility. Kill the clone. Reset the time. There's no guarantee that events won't play out the same way, but there's at least a chance to save everything, and all you have to do is end it. Since Storm just wants to bring Morocco back and set things back to normal, she tells John Ironfire, "Assemble the Brotherhood. We have a mission," accepting Mystique's mission. At this point, we see Storm and her fellow mutants go to the lab of Sinister hidden underneath the ground. But they are quickly greeted by Chimeras, aka genetically engineered artificial mutants. So Storm has several of her mutants such as Cable and Lulo fight them above ground while she creates such a powerful whirlwind she tears through the rock, drilling her way down to Sinister's lab, as WizKid and John Ironside follow her down. They then find Sinister's lab, but it's surrounded by a living force field. But WizKid, being WizKid, finds a workaround telling Storm, "Why bother to break something when you could just pick it up and move it around?" And Storm says teleporting the entire lab force field and all was a stroke of genius. He replies, "Well, thank you," as she says, "Rather than scrambling to dismantle the field here, we can return to base and switch the clone off at our..." But before she could finish her sentence, WizKid stabs her from behind, much like Ironside did to Mystique earlier. As we find out, this isn't WizKid, but in fact, Mystique yet again. Ironside then runs over to Mystique to try to take her down, but it's too late. She teleports and gets away with Sinister's lab. He then runs over to Storm laying there with a killing blow, and she says, "Mystique can't kill us. Sinister can't kill us. Morocco survives, John, and we'll find her wherever she hides." We are then taken to the World Forum where we see Destiny has been watching everything her wife's been doing, telling someone it's ironic really, if we haven't provoked Storm into action, the timeline would have reset. Tomorrow, a quiet council vote will go against Sinister, and he'll decide to cut his losses. So let's pause for a second. If you watched our video of Sins of Sinister 1 or read it for yourself, at the end of that issue, Mr. Sinister returns to his lab only to see that it's not there anymore. And this explains why it wasn't there, because Mystique and Destiny stole it from him. The voice then tells Destiny, "I know how he thinks, Irene. This chaos he has unleashed was his idea of a controlled experiment. A shame for him that he won't be the one to control it. But I'm curious. I know why I won't undo the last 10 years. What about you? What do you get from a deceased reality like this one?" She answers, "It's such a simple answer. In this world, my wife is alive, and some things you don't gamble with." So essentially, a bunch of people want to take control of Mr. Sinister's experiment because in doing so, they can manipulate everything. The problem is, everyone's going after it. In any case, we find out the person she's talking to is Orbis Stellaris, a clone of Mr. Sinister that has a black spade on his forehead instead of the red diamond, and basically just wants to control over the Dominion, which is the highest possible tier of interstellar intelligence. And he says to her after she answers why she doesn't want to reset the last 10 years that we have that in common. And I suppose we play long games, and you and I, we like to play them safe. But nothing is forever, Destiny. You of all people know that. And at the end of this game, there's only one winning card. There can only be one who has Dominion, referring to the interstellar intelligence, a mythical godhead of sorts. And just like that, we jump into Nightcrawlers issue 1. Nightcrawlers issue 1 starts off with Vox Ignis at the Sanctum Sanctorum in New Essex, formerly known as New York, because remember, everything has been changed after Sinister enacted his grand experiment. If you don't know, Vox Ignis is the mutant banshee imbued with the spirit of variance, a former spirit of vengeance who decided to become the spirit of variance, giving him the power to change things with his scream o change. Anyway, as he's there looking for anything useful to him in this world, overrun by sinister clones, he is greeted by the Legion of the Night, Nightcrawler Essex clones that have been spliced with other characters, giving us Sinister Nightcrawler, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Domino, Sabretooth, Toad, and Pyro. As they start attacking Vox, he knows he only has one card to play that gives him a fighting chance, and that is the Scream O Change, which to his shock works on the Nightcrawler Wolverine as she turns on her fellow Legion of the Night. So Vox uses it again this time, freeing the Spider-Man clone and Domino clone from Essex as she kills Toad, Pyro, and Sabretooth. We then see that Vox is working for Mother Righteous, who has her own plans in mind as she goes to meet with a group of other Sinisters such as Orbis Stellaris, as we saw at the end of the last issue, and Dr. Stasis, all clones of Sinister who have their own goals and motivations, each having their own unique card suit symbol on their foreheads. Stellaris has a spade, Stasis has a club, and the main Sinister we all know has a diamond, meaning all we're missing is the heart. And guess what we find out? The reason Mother Righteous is crashing this meeting is because she herself is an Essex clone, the Essex of hearts, if you will. Anyway, she doesn't seem to get along too well with Dr. Stasis, who seems to be the rogue one of the group. So she has Vox and her newly loyal Legion of the Night, Vox Freed, fight Stasis. And guess what? The Wolverine Nightcrawler kills him by stabbing him in the club with an adamantium spike from her tail. It's actually pretty dope. At this point, Stellaris says, "Beautiful. You know, I was afraid I might actually have to listen to his proposal for an alliance. I didn't think you could actually do it, but to turn Sinister's finest killers, ingenious." That's right, because we know the Legion of the Night worked directly for the main Sinister, but as we know, Vox was able to free them from his control with a Screamo change. Mother Righteous then interrupts Stellaris, saying, "I know you've been busy, and I know something's got Sinister's panties in a bunch." We then see that he stole Sinister's lab. As he says, "You understand why, of course." She says, "You didn't want him resetting this reality. You couldn't tolerate Stasis clawing back his power base. And you wouldn't have allowed me to know this if I had any chance of changing it." He replies, "Clever. Got there in the end. I have processing power of the world farm, crunching possibilities to find a path to the highest throne. It doesn't matter how long it takes. Nobody can access the Moira clone now. Sinister's chaos will devour all threats to my primacy. And no fuzzy huckster magic can come close. The sword does not fear the cup, sister. Stay out of my way, and you have safe passage through my dominion. It's the very least I could do to thank you for your help." So essentially, Stellaris thinks he has control of everything now, but Mother Righteous has other plans. As we head towards the end of the issue, we see her use her team to try to infiltrate Sinister's lab, which of course Stellaris now has thanks to Destiny and Mystique. But of course, it's a suicide mission, but the Legion of the Night, being loyal to her for freeing them from Sinister's control, want to help. At which point, the Spider-Man Nightcrawler clone volunteers to try to teleport in, but dies in the process. As everyone learns, Stellaris put a teleportation barrier over it. We then learn the clone that sacrificed himself was codenamed Wallcrawler, which is epic considering he's a hybrid Spider-Man and Nightcrawler. Anyway, they all start chanting Wallcrawler for his sacrifice. Vox then tells Mother, "We really have to get in there," because again, she has her own agenda for Sinister's lab as everyone wants control of it. She tells Vox, "Don't worry, you pretty little skull boys. Mother knows best." Simple matter of faith, isn't it? Faith and time. Meanwhile, we got work to do. No point in getting in if we ain't got the weapon ready to fire. The devil himself made you the ultimate killers, but I shall make you holy thieves, buccaneers of light. The Wolverine Nightcrawler says, "I like the sound of that. What are we to steal?" She replies, "The instruments of the gods," while showing them images of some of the most powerful artifacts in the Marvel Universe, such as Mjolnir, the Eye of Agamotto, and more. And just like that, the issue ends, so let's jump into Immoral X-Men issue 1. Hold up, you guys have to see this. We've all made paper airplanes and spent time trying to get them to fly. But let me introduce you to the future of handheld aviation. Today's sponsor, PowerUp, has created the next generation smartphone-controlled paper airplane kits. Their sophisticated onboard computer and auto stabilizers allow you to fly pretty much anything you can imagine and create. You simply attach PowerUp to a folded paper airplane, balsa wood, foam, or cardboard plane, and it flies like magic. Once you pick the body of choice, you instantly put yourself in the cockpit of an amazing smartphone-controlled paper airplane that does high-speed tricks. I'm talking loops, barrel rolls, and hammerheads when you shift into acro mode. PowerUp makes it easy to fly for kids and adults, even in windy conditions, and that's all thanks to the onboard flight computer, sensors, gyro, and accelerometer. I have no idea what makes it all work, but it's freaking awesome. Also, I'm not the best pilot, so thankfully PowerUp's durable crash-proof design is built to sustain endless crashes. It even has on-screen on-screen flight telemetry, and gamified scoring for your flight performance. There are also optional expansion packs for night flight, landing gear, model kits, and more.
You can grab yours today on Amazon or their website, poweruptoys.com. And if you use our code VC20POFF, you'll get 20% off.
Just click the link in the description to get yours today, and we'll meet you in the sky. All right, let's jump in. The issue starts off 10 years into New Essex as we see Nick Fury and his resistance try to combat Essex and his new world. Fury says, everyone remember, keep checking your PSI seals. We all know how thought crime is punished. Fury then says, let's get to work. As one of his resistance members asks, wait, do we leave by the door or the window? Fury says while looking out the skyscraper window, pretty sure it's the window, as they all jump to their deaths. We are then taken to Krakoa, where we see Fury and his people jump to their deaths because they were being mind controlled by Charles Xavier, who is a semi-clone of Essex, and he locked onto their thought crime and says, another cell gone. Emma Frost, who is also a Sinister like the rest of the Quiet Console, says, really? You got to smash another one? You always rush. I want to savor it. Captions say Charles is so soft that he lets them die peacefully when they should be screaming. More of a wimp even. As we see Charles crying, she asks, are you crying again? He tells her not all are as heartless as you, Emma. To make the dream real, we must perform these acts, but they are still heinous. Why won't they just submit to the dream? As Emma walks away, she tells Charles, after the warning, do you think Sinister will submit? We are his betters. He admitted as much when he subverted us to conquer this world. He is oh so vanilla. Charles replies, one way or another, I will submit to the dream. Because remember, all of Sinister's clones are grouping up and wanting to do their own thing with his experiment that he created. Essentially, everyone is turning on the main Sinister. We are then taken to the Quiet Console, where we see yet again the main Sinister who started all this isn't really getting along with the rest of the Quiet Console and their ideas. After this meeting, we see Sinister go to some tea in Union Square, where he says, they call this tea? It's not like gene science, yet somehow this simple task is still beyond the Colonials. Frustrated, he then teleports to the Westchester complex, where he greets yet another clone of himself who has good tea and dessert waiting for him. Sinister then starts venting to his clone, saying, my most secret lab has been stolen. I need my Moiras back. This timeline has gone so wrong that I'm surprised that we're not all speaking French. I need to reset it. The council is talking back to me. I've tried the obvious techniques and nothing. I need to use resources that ruling the world allows me. But the problem is I don't rule the world anymore. I share it with 11 cocktails of me. I try it and chances are they spot me and realize the Moira engine exists. And then they all want it. He then tells his clones, I still have the ultimate sensor with metals from my top level control imprints, but there's still a deep genetic work which is part of my infrastructure. I could trigger the psychic inferno as a failsafe. I kill all my Sinisters, but perhaps it's worth it. His clone asks, aren't you worried about it being activated without you knowing? Sinister replies, of course I am. That's why I kept its activation circuit in the safest, most secure place I could think of, my secret lab, which of course has been stolen, putting Sinister in between a rock and a hard place. Sinister then says, I'll try to reinstate control. His clone asks, but his head is in the secret lab. Sinister says, yes, so a manual reinsertion of the control protocol. It's a big risk, but it's not. Thanks for listening. As he kills the clone, walking off saying, I said I needed someone I can trust. I can't trust myself. That's the whole problem. We then see Sinister trying to enact his new plan on a sleeping Emma Frost as he tries to inject her with one of his gene serums, but can't because Emma Frost has failsafes in place as she wakes up saying, I've been sleeping in diamond form for a long time. For many reasons, not the least little sneaks like you. The two start fighting and Sinister uses a Banshee pulse cipher to shatter one of her arms, but we find out she has a Logan patch which gives her Wolverine's healing factor, so her arm grows back. Essentially, she's using all of Sinister's gene manipulating technology to give her a healing factor. Realizing he's not going to beat her one-on-one, he unleashes Scott Summer clones he's spliced, giving us Cyclops versions of Groot, Multiple Man, and so on. But Emma Frost isn't even intimidated. She just says to herself, I'm Frost. There's never been a Scott who I couldn't make do whatever I want. Sinister really thought I couldn't pull the strings better than him? This is what I do, as she takes out all of his Cyclops clones and wraps a chain around Sinister's neck, saying, I am the divine Emma Frost. You've never been higher than dying red-faced before me. Sinister says, don't you get it? You're all turning on each other. This is just the start of it. She was gonna kill him, but he convinces her that her and the council still need him because of his next generation chimera, aka artificial mutants. These new mutants he's creating will be able to have 5 gifts in one body, aka 5 different powers or abilities. He also told her that Krakoa couldn't have happened without him and that it still needs him. She says, you make a convincing case, I'll bring it to the council, but first I want something big, which he has no choice to do if he wants to live, so he says, mistress, mother, queen, any or all of the above, please. At which point she says, good boy, as she still has him on a leash with that chain around his neck. She then psychically informs the Council of Sinister's proposition with his new artificial mutants, and how Krakoa does still need him. They all agree to keep Sinister alive and use him going forward, at which point Frost lets him go, saying, welcome back, Nathaniel. Know your place. You're one of us. Even more than ever, we're one of you. Krakoa needs you, as she leaves Sinister there defeated, who is clearly thinking he needs to reset this timeline. And that brings Immortal X-Men issue 1 to a close, along with a recap of the Sins of Sinister event so far. This series is taking some really big swings like the Nightcrawler hybrid characters, and it makes for a fun read. I will say, with so many moving parts, it'll be interesting to see where this event leaves the X-Men and mutants as a whole. So we're going to continue covering it and bringing you those answers. In the meantime, we want to know what you think. Let us know down in the comments. And that's going to bring today's episode to a close, but if you enjoyed this one, be sure to check out this one right here. And if you like all of our videos, like, subscribe, and comment. It helps the channel grow. But other than that, I will see you next time when I talk about all things comics.